everybody, I am Buzz the Noob, and welcome on back to my channel, Buzz the Noob, and we're here today to talk about the Death Knight. I did get a request from this for my Protection Paladin talent overview and change first look. We have got a second build on the alpha at this point, but as of yet, there's been no new changes to the Death Knight. Actually, the only tank that got any changes on the second build was a Protection Warrior, and we'll talk about that. Since I haven't even done a first pass, we'll talk about everything when we get to the Protection Warrior in a couple more days. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do this week, I've actually blown up the size of the screen. I did get some comments that you guys couldn't see the talents before, so hopefully that's a little better for you guys. I hope that helps out a little bit. So what we're going to do is talk about talent changes and how I think they're going to play out come Shadowlands, just like we did with the Protection Paladin video. If you didn't watch, there'll be a link for that down below. Please go ahead and check that out for me. So what we have here on the left-hand side of your screen, you've got the Shadowlands talent calculator. Right-hand side of the screen, you've got the live talent calculator. And on the live talent calculator this time, I went ahead and went with the default build that most of us are running as our DKs. As you see, there's a couple rows that don't have anything filled in because those are a little more situational, but we're going to talk about that as we go. So on the first row, Heartbreaker, Blood Drinker, Tombstone, there's really no changes here except for Tombstone got moved to row 1 but didn't really change any. No buffs, no nerfs, no anything like that. So I don't see that being any different than what we're currently running with. I don't think Blood Drinker is going to be able to become competitive with Heartbreaker. I don't think Tombstone's going to be competitive with Heartbreaker. So honestly, I still think this row is going to be a no-choice row at this point. So I think we're all going to end up taking Heartbreaker again. It is what it is. Not every time you get something new and better, right? We did get a change in row 2 to Rapid Decomp. That one has gone up. So currently in live, Rapid Decomp, your Blood Plague and Death and Decay deal damage 15% more often. Well, it's not bad, right? If you're looking for a DPS setup, that's probably not a bad way to go. PvP, battlefields, grounds, stuff like that, or if you're just running old content, if you're doing, that'll help get through it faster, right? But Rapid Decomp in Shadowlands did get a buff. Basically, our Blood Plague leeches 50% more health. So that's going to add a heal onto your Death and Decay. Is that going to be enough to overcome Homeostasis, which each enemy hit by Blood Boil increases the damage and healing done by your next Death Strike by 8%, stacks up to 5 times? I don't know. That's... So I'm going to go ahead and mark up rows as we go. I don't think that's going to be enough. It might be. It might be, but I really don't think. I think Homeostasis is going to be still stronger than Rapid Decomp in most situations. Consumption actually got a bit of a nerf, if you want to look at it like that, but it's just bringing it in line with most other AoE attack abilities that have taken this nerf throughout Shadowlands, and that said, it's capped now at 8 targets as opposed to all targets. So, which doesn't help consumption any. I mean, it was really great on our legendary weapons, but it just hasn't been the same since, has it? So I don't think there's going to be a change on this row either. Rapid Decomp may have some uses situationally, and consumption maybe. I mean, if it went back to like Legion and it could get buffed to where like there was another talent in here that would heal your party, that would be awesome. Then consumption would be very powerful. As it is, I think it's still going to be Homeostasis. The 30 row, we did get a new talent. Foul Bulwark, Ossuary, no changes to either one of these. So Foul Bulwark, your Bone Shield increases your maximum health by 1% for each charge. Ossuary, if you got more than 5 Bone Shields, your Death Strike is reduced by 5, and you get an additional 10 Runic Power, which basically allows you to do 3 back-to-back Death Strikes, right? Relish in Blood is our new talent, one of the new ones that came out. When Crimson Scourge is active, your next Death and Decay heals you for percentage. health per bone shield charge, and you immediately gain 10 runic power. So that's actually sounding pretty cool. That might 24% of attack power though. That's not a whole lot, but is that that's per bone shield charge? So if you had 10 bone shield charges, would that be 24% of your attack power? So let's just say 10, just for easy math, and you had 10 bone shields going. Would you have 100 health healed and 10 runic power? I mean, I don't know. Crimson Scourge doesn't proc all the time. I mean, it is a proc, so we don't have any control over it. So overall, I'm not sure which one that's going to go. I think it's going math out on how often Crimson Scourge is procking. So that may become a really cool thing. Plus the 10 additional automatic runic power, that's going to get you pretty close to another bone shield. Not bone shield, excuse me, another death strike. So that sounded like it could be fun. So I'm not sure which one of these are going to be better. I still don't think Foul Bulwark's going to have it. You know, maybe at low levels or leveling, that'd be a good choice. But as far as end game's concerned, it's going to be one of these two. Kind of hoping for Relish and Blood. Just give us something new, right? It'd be nice to not be always doing the same talents. So I'm going to leave that one blank because I just don't know where we're going to go with that. The fourth row, let's see here. Will of the Necropolis, Anti-Magic Barrier, and Mark of Blood are the new ones on this row. We did have Will of the Necropolis, Anti-Magic Barrier, and Rune Tap. Obviously now Rune Tap is now baseline, so it's no longer a talent, which is good. Will of the Necropolis is no change, so if damage taken below 30%, health is reduced by 30%, which is awesome for when you're going into a raid for the first time and you need that extra, oh man, I'm going to get my stuff kicked in all day long, so let's go with Will of the Necropolis a little bit. So that's a good passive ability. Anti-Magic Barrier actually got a buff as well. So in live, reduce the cooldown of Anti-Magic Shell by 15 seconds and increases its duration and amount absorbed by 30%. Shadowlands is going to go, so instead of 15 seconds, it's going to be 20 seconds. And it's going to increase that amount by 40% as opposed to 30%. With the Shadowlands squish, I don't know 100% if that's a buff, but it sounds like a buff, looks like a buff, smells like a buff, walks like a buff. La-di-da-di, it's a buff. So we need to get, I think that's going to be good. Anything to reduce the amount of magic damage we've got coming in, especially if we're trying to stack up death strikes right then. That's going to be really clutch right there. Mark of Blood, there's no change except for it moved from the 90 to row, which was the 6th row, up to the 4th row, excuse me. So it's just a move. It's just not going to be worth taking. No changes to it, so it's not going to be, especially not compared to these two. So you've got your passive. I'm leveling. I'm DPS. Or I'm brand new to tanking. Any of these items. Will of the Necropolis is good. You're a little better player. Anti-Magic Barrier. You go and know when you're needing that clutch magic damage reduced. So that's going to be awesome. Add that into Anti-Magic Zone. And geez, we're going to talk about that. But geez Louise, you're going to be able to reduce a lot of magic damage. So on the 35 row, it's going to come down to these two. I think for most of us, though, we're going to go with Anti-Magic Barrier. Just to give that buff time on the Anti-Magic Shell. Again, if you're new, there's nothing wrong with Will of the Necropolis. I just don't think it's as good for a more skilled player as Anti-Magic Barrier is going to be. Grip of the Dead, the level 40 talent or the old level 75 talent. There's no changes here whatsoever. Grip of the Dead, Tightening Grasp, Wraith Walk. They're all there, all in the same spots. No changes whatsoever. So this row, just like in live, is going to just stay kind of dependent. Are we in a Mythic Plus and we've got a lot of enemies, we're going to need a kite. So it's a, Necrotic Week, where we need to get away from them and drop our stacks. Okay, Grip of the Dead, awesome. Give that 90% movement speed debuff. Tightening Grasp, or is it Skittish Weak and I need to get them all back to me? Tightening Grasp is going to be great. Reduces that cooldown on Gorfiend's Grasp. And then Wraithwalk, anytime you want to move a little faster, you can't do anything except for Wraithwalk, but that's fine. It's a speed buff. So, again, situational talents depending on where you're at. I generally, by default, run with Grip of the Dead. I just like the 90% snare all the time. It's kind of just where I default to. If I'm not sure what exactly I want, you can't go wrong with a snare. Second to last row, we have a little bit of change in how this works. We moved Bloodworms, but besides that, that didn't really change any. But we did get a new talent in here as well, since Mark of Blood moved up to replace Rune Tap. So we have Voracious, which did get a little buff. Death Strike's healing is increased by 20% and grants you 15 leech for 8 seconds, which the change is at that 20%. So currently, Voracious does not increase the healing of Death Strike, but what comes Shadowlands it will. So that's actually a pretty substantial buff, which is going to be great. So on top of your Death Strike just doing more, you're going to be doing a more passive leech. You can't go wrong with that. Since that's how we play, is just totally on our self-healing. I mean, that's why you play Blood Knight, right? You don't want to deal with a healer. Bloodworms, no change whatsoever to Bloodworms. It's still going to be good talent. Death Pact. So this is one of our new Shadowlands talents. And this one, create a Death Pact that heals you for 50% of your maximum health, but absorbs incoming healing equal to 30% of your maximum health for 15 seconds. So I don't know what to think about that one yet. Since I haven't got to play with it, I can't wait to get in and try it. Get me a healer and go run some dungeons and run with that specific talent up just to pop that and use it just to see how it feels. But a 50% absorb shield is good, but the fact that I can't get healed, or that it's going to absorb 30% of that 50%. So our health pools are looking like I think they're saying like 250 or something like that. So that's 125,000 would be the absorb, and 30% of my max health would be 250,000, whatever that would be. Be less than 125, right? I just don't know. I want to play with that one. I hope people in the alpha are playing with it, and so they can tell Blizzard what they think about it. I do like the fact that that is something you're gonna have to think about, whether or not you are willing to take that risk with the absorb shield. At the very least, having Voracious buff like it did does give some competition for Bloodworms on just your standard build out. So I think, it's going to depend on the numbers, of course, but it depends on how often the Bloodworms are proccing and everything like that, how much damage they're still doing. Because that was one of the advantages of the Bloodworms, is they did that damage too, right? So it's going to all depend on all that. So it's going to see how much in the back end of the house Bloodworms still does, because we can't see all that from here. So, but Voracious being buffed, that's great. So it's still, this one's still going to come down for sure between Bloodworms and Voracious. Death Pact may be good enough to be in there, though. I just don't know. That absorb shield, has me a little bit worried. All right, and then our final talent row. No change to Purgatory. It's still your kind of default. I don't know how to tank yet, or I'm brand new to this content, and I want that I'm going to die thing. Or when our gear is brand new, right? When you're fresh level 60 and doing your first heroic, not a bad idea to have Purgatory. Outside of that, once you get some gear, once you get confident, no one takes this talent after that. Red Thirst. This actually got a buff. Red Thirst, so now it's reduced the cooldown on Vampiric Blood by 1.5 seconds per 10 runic power spent. And it was reduced the cooldown by 1 second. So it's only a half second per 10 runic power spent. So it's not a huge buff by any stretch of the imagination, but a buff is a buff, right? And we were kind of in between Red Thirst and Bone Storm as it was, so this is probably going to push us all a little bit more towards Red Thirst. But Bone Storm didn't get any changes. It's exactly the same as it has been. So no changes to Bone Storm, but it's still a good talent. It's still fun, and if you're out, again, if I'm inside a dungeon or a raid or I'm doing anything where I'm actually tanking, I'm probably going to go Red Thirst. If I'm out in the world, I'm probably going to go Bone Storm just because it's fun to Bone Storm everything. Or maybe if like I'm in lower content than I need to be in, if I'm like, I'm doing a heroic dungeon to help out a friend or something, I might do Bone Storm just because I like topping the meters and it's funny. All in all, Blood is going to be just a beast because we got buffed in a couple talents, and the talents that we didn't get buffed in were already good. Add on to that the anti-magic zone that's coming in, that's already in the alpha, and we're going to be able to do some really awesome, fun stuff as Blood Knights. If Blood isn't the go-to spec for Mythic Plus, I'm going to be surprised. The only reason they're not going to be is because of just their damage. I didn't see a whole lot saying that their damage on our normal spells have gotten buffed up any. So I'm a little afraid about that. We could really use some, but pretty much across the board 2% increase, right? Because we're a little weak on hitting stuff. We have some like Bone Storm that hits pretty hard. But most everything else, we're kind of okay. Maybe a 1% even would do it. I mean, that's still not going to put us against a warrior, right? We're still going to lose in a DPS race to prot warrior, but even though we do a lot of the spike damage, we're healing our own spike damage, so the healer doesn't have to worry about us as much, and then they can focus on either DPS or they can focus on healing the DPS. Either way, they don't have to worry about us. But overall, I think great changes to the Blood DK. I really think there are going to be one or two. Again, it's going to come what's called the Prot Warrior, because they didn't get any nerfs to their damage. Well, they got some nerfs to their damage. We'll talk about that again in another video. But overall, I think it's going to be good. I really do think Blood Knights are looking really good for Mythic Plus. I even think, depending on how much magic damage the raid has, they may become the raid tank. I don't think we mitigate enough of the damage to be the primary raid tank. I still foresee the Brewmaster as that. However, I could be wrong. We could be. I think honestly right now, it's just all going to depend on, is it a whole bunch of physical damage? Is it a whole bunch of magical damage? Are we more balanced? Because Brewmaster has no magical reduction whatsoever, really. And we have all the magical reduction. I mean, the only one who comes close to our magical reduction is the Protection Paladin. And even then, they don't have anti-magic zone. They can do Blessing and Spell Warding on themselves, but that doesn't help the group. At any rate, before I let this video get too long, that's going to be it, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff down below. Let me know how it's going. If you have another request, let me know. If not, we're going to do the Demon Hunter next for our next part of this 6-part series. And I do hope you guys are staying safe, having a good time wherever you're at in the world. And yeah, I'll see you around. Bye.